I want you to imagine that next Easter, God decides to grant us a remarkable gift. Imagine that Pope Francis goes out on his balcony Easter morning and tells the crowd that the previous evening God visited him in a dream and told him that when he wakes up, he must proclaim, Deus est maior gravitas. And when he does so, every human on earth will gain the ability to lift themselves off the ground and fly. Think about how joyful we'd all be when he proclaimed those words and then moments later discovered we were no longer shackled by gravity. We would be overwhelmed with joy and astonishment. It would be a remarkable day. But then ask yourself this: how long do you think we would be joyful? A year? 2? Maybe even a whole decade? Sadly, I suspect the answer might be far shorter. I fear we'd not make it a whole month. Before long, we'd take for granted this new gift and return to complaining about our trials and tribulations. Some might even say, well, everybody can fly. I'm not special. And at that point, it wouldn't be long before someone questions why God gave this gift to everyone. Some might say Protestants don't deserve it. They don't recognize the authority of the Pope. Or what about atheists? They don't even believe in God. And it could get ugly really quickly. Think about how much of a tragedy that would be. We were all given a great gift, and yet in our human weakness, we are reduced to bickering and jealousy faster than we could have possibly imagined. This is what Jesus is speaking to in today's gospel. People were given a great gift, a day's wage for a day's work. Anyone who's been out of work knows the blessing of good and fair work. Yet before the day was done, these workers had found a reason to complain. Why was this other group given an even greater gift? And frankly, it's easy to sympathize with these workers. I suspect I'd feel the same way. But Jesus' words cut straight through our delusion. He asks, are you envious because I am generous? His question identifies the two sins that are responsible for so much of our discontent: jealousy and ingratitude. We too often forget this life we have been given is an amazingly great gift. Sure, we can't fly, but think of what we can do. We can see. Think of the beauty that surrounds us here in the church, out in nature, or the beauty we see in our fellow human beings, the smile of a child, the amazingness of a great athletic achievement, or even something as simple as the smirk of a dear friend when you both know the same inside joke. And of course, there are great joys in our other senses: hearing a bird chirp, feeling the wind in our hair, tasting a perfect watermelon, smelling a bouquet of roses. It's all a great gift, and we should be very, very grateful for every moment. Instead, we are tempted towards ingratitude. And what's worse is that if we were grateful, it would be a shield against so many other sins. It's remarkably hard to be angry or prideful or to despair when we are grateful. But at the top of the list is jealousy. And jealousy is a sin that tortures many people. Gratefulness is the antidote to jealousy. Because if we are truly grateful for what we have, we're unlikely to be jealous of what others have. So let's work this week on being more grateful. And to that end, as I often do, I've come up with a list of ideas of how we can embrace this difficult challenge. The first is to embrace thanksgiving and worship in our prayer. When you pray this week, don't focus on what you need or what you'd like. Instead of saying, "God, help me," which is a fine prayer, but we also need to emphasize the worship. God, you are marvelous. And the thanksgiving. I thank you for the gifts you have given me. This week, let's make that the center of our prayer. Second, I think we should take this week to make a big list, and I mean a big list, of all the things we are grateful for. Let's find those 15 quiet minutes of prayer every day and start writing. And to think about all the wonderful gifts we have received. If we can find this quiet, prayerful time every day, I guarantee you, at the end of the week, we will have a massive and wonderful list. And finally, let's finish the week by telling the people we love how grateful we are for their presence in our lives. And the good news is that since we've been working on this big list, we shouldn't have any trouble remembering the reasons why. Because God has blessed each and every one of us richly. Sure, they're not the same gifts. We could even argue that some may have greater gifts than our own. But to focus on that is to overlook what is far more important. We are all blessed, and we have much to be grateful for, because all of us have been given this great gift of life by a God who loves us.